All right, today we are diving deep into one of the biggest questions in all of Web3. How do some projects just explode with growth, while so many others, well, they just don't? I'll tell you right now, the answer is not what you think it is. Let's get into it. You know the feeling, right? It's the question that probably keeps you up at night if you're a founder or a builder. You see these other projects just taking off like a rocket, and you can't help but ask yourself, why them? What's their secret? What are they doing that I'm missing? Okay, so here's the very first thing you need to get. And honestly, it goes against everything we're taught in this industry. Success isn't just about being the smartest person in the room or having the most brilliant code. It is not purely about skill. You see them everywhere, don't you? Their name is all over your Twitter feed. They're in the news, they're on every platform that matters. And, the logical conclusion, the one we all jump to, is that they must be winning because their tech is just flat out better. But here's the secret. They're not. It just looks that way. So let's just nail this down right from the start. This is the core equation I want you to burn into your brain. Growth does not equal skill. In Web3, these two things are not the same. And really getting that, that's the first step to changing everything for your project. So, okay, how does this actually play out for most people? Well, it leads to what I call the founder struggle. And it is fueled by this really damaging myth, the myth of so-called organic growth. And this right here, this slide shows the painful gap between what we hope for and what actually happens. On one side, you've got the expectation. I'll just build something awesome. I'll post about it every day, and I'll just wait for the crowd to show up. But the reality for 99% of projects, it's just crickets. You get low reach, no traction. You're hit and refresh on the analytics, and the numbers just aren't moving. It's brutal. And what happens when that reality hits? Well, the blame game starts. We begin telling ourselves these little stories to make it sting less. We say things like, the timing is just off, or, well, it's a bear market, or my absolute favorite, hey, don't worry about it, we're still early. These aren't reasons, people. They're just rationalizations. But these excuses, they're just a way for us to avoid a much simpler and, maybe a much more uncomfortable truth about how this game is really played. And here it is. Just let this one sink in for a second. There is no such thing as real organic growth in Web3. This whole idea that you can just build a great thing and users will magically find you, it's a total fantasy. So if organic growth is the myth, then what's the reality? Well, the new truth is this. Attention is a system. It is not an accident. It's something you have to actively build, not something you just passively hope for. And this right here, this is the huge mental shift you have to make. The old myth says that attention is earned, like it's some kind of reward for all your hard work. But the new truth, it's that attention is engineered. It's the direct result of a deliberate, systematic process. So let me put it this way. The projects you see winning, they aren't necessarily better products. They are, however, better distributed. They don't just sit around waiting to be discovered. They make damn sure they are seen everywhere all the time. Okay, so that's the what, but I know what you're thinking. What about the how? This is where we get into the nuts and bolts. Let's talk about the visibility flywheel. This is the system for how engineered attention actually works. The whole process is actually pretty logical when you lay it out. It all kicks off with visibility, just showing up everywhere, constantly. That constant presence starts to build a sense of authority, making people see you as a leader in the space. And that authority, in turn, creates trust. And in Web3, trust is literally the only currency that matters because it leads directly to users. And the psychology behind this whole thing? It's super simple, but incredibly powerful. Your brain is just hardwired to trust what it sees over and over again. It's a mental shortcut, right? When we see a name again and again, our brain starts to think, hey, this must be legit. This must be important. Familiarity literally builds trust. And that trust, that becomes the engine that drives every single outcome you want. It's what turns curious onlookers into active users. It's what attracts the liquidity you need to survive. And it's what opens the door to those game-changing partnerships. See, everything flows from trust. And look, I have to say this again because it's the whole point. This flywheel, this powerful cycle of trust and user growth, it does not happen by accident. It is engineered. It's built through smart strategy, consistent exposure, and just controlling your visibility over time.
Which brings us to another killer equation for you to remember. Distribution equals dominance. The projects that you think are everywhere, they didn't get lucky. They built it that way. They invested just as much, probably more, into their distribution strategy as they did their product. That is their real unfair advantage.
So how do we wrap this all up? Well, it's all about a fundamental shift in your thinking. It's about reframing your entire growth problem to focus on just one thing, becoming seen.
So if you're looking at your project right now and you know in your gut it's not growing the way it should be, the problem is not that you're early. Come on, that's just the excuse we use to keep from doing the hard work. The real problem, the one you can actually fix, is much, much simpler. You're invisible. And a brilliant product that nobody ever sees, well, it might as well not even exist. And that, right there, leads us to the final, unavoidable truth of it all. In this market, in this crazy attention economy we live in, invisible projects just don't win, period. So the question you need to be asking yourself isn't, how do I make my product 10% better? It's, how do I make my product seen? If you're finally ready to stop just waiting for growth and you want to start engineering it, your next step is to master the system for building real, lasting visibility. Check out the resources in the description below to learn exactly how to do it.
Subscribe and visit Web3 Newswire for visibility and credibility of your Web3 projects.